And now, broadcasting from Titletown, USA, here's Joe Simon.
Well, welcome in again. Welcome to the Joe Simon Podcast. It's going to be a little bit of a different show today. Today, we're flipping the switch and going over to our executive coaching uh, services that you'll find under our executive concierge services. We call that Great2Greatest, and it's been around since about 2005. And what's really cool about today is we have an alum joining us. I'll tell you about Vince in just a second as we roll. So, this is focusing today on leadership coaching. Part of our executive concierge services is Great2Greatest Coaching. We're going to continue to take a look at this, what we call a marketplace mission. It focuses on mind, body, and soul. And today we're talking to a graduate of this program. He's also a PhD, an athlete, a father, a husband, Vince Catteruccia, who brings with him decades of experience in human performance. Welcome in, Vince.
Hey, thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be with you. We've been together, beyond 20 years, right?
Yes,
And
yes, yeah. We've had
we have
great stories.
we have kind of a short amount of time to talk about a really big topic. And the goal here is to try to whittle down the myopia that a lot of our executives have in terms of their journey to success, right?
Right,
A lot of times that journey is built and founded on the prowess of that executive. And it's really easy to lose sight of their own physical being. And that's one of the pillars of Great2Greatest, isn't it, Joe? That's the body. And that's kind of my
right.
wheelhouse.
That's right, and that's what we're going to focus in on. So, what to really make this a meaty conversation for those that don't have a lot of patience watching today. I hear you. So let's get to the headlines. The first thing we're going to really dig into is leadership. Leaders in today, in 2025, 2026, are they the same as maybe 1995, 2005, 2015? Only you know the answer, but we're going to bring you some items along the way. We're also going to hear more about this, and I really want to dig into this phrase, this person that's got a very unique profile. We're calling him the industrial athlete. These are the leaders that are in the offices of the plants, and they're also on the plant floor. You're an industrial athlete, 24/7, 365. A little different than, let's say, somebody who sits behind a computer all day long. And what's the body composition about that type of person and how you succeed in your day-to-day in your life? And lastly, what are the statistics telling us? What's the data saying about Main Street USA leaders today and how they're navigating, such as their sleep, their eating, their workout habits? So that's a lot, Vince. I'm going to toss it right to you. Let's get right at it. Start to tell us a little bit about the leaders you encounter in the environment that you see yourself in on a day-to-day.
Yeah, so really early on in any of the interactions that I have with people is you figure out real fast that they're always on, right? They become very proficient at being on at all times. And what they lose sight of is recovery. So a lot of times we get into a topic or a conversation that has to do with the two kind of silos that we have in life. One being the life energy silo. That's the energy that you use for your day-to-day activities, business, all of the things you do in your day. And then you have a recovery silo that should never really be touched. That's the energy that you tap into when it's time for you to recover from illness, or let's say someone dies in the family. You start to really tie into that recovery energy when life gets sideways. So it's our emergency fund, as you will. But what we find is that today's executive, today's worker is always running in their recovery energy zone. Their life energy is completely tapped out. Why? Because they haven't figured out how to recover. They don't do enough on that end, And they don't realize that that recovery time makes you so much better in your performance on a day-to-day level.
Very interesting. What automatically comes to mind, Vince, is this thing called chronic burnout. 10, 15 years ago, what we would say in here is just suck it up and get back out there, work through it. But something's changed. Can you talk a little bit about what I'm going to label decision fatigue?
Decision fatigue, the cognitive haze, right, that comes about. And this is, again, super deep, but I'm sure that your audience has heard this by now. Peter Attia talks about a lot is your gut is the second brain, right? So part of this whole conversation has to do with not just how well you are as a cortical thinker, but what are you doing to cultivate and kind of incubate health when it comes to the mind. And a lot of people don't realize that the food you eat has a lot to do with your ability to perform cognitively. And so if that gut isn't healthy, you're going to start to dwindle in terms of your performance on a cognitive level. So that's a big deal. And that's a conversation we have real early on in this pillar, the body pillar.
So this is a mindset thing we're talking about, and what I want to lead the audience to is this next term called industrial athlete. And what I like about it is the term athlete comes in, and all of a sudden I start to think different as someone who likes to get out there and keep myself in shape and do different things with different people at different times in my life. Let's talk about what being an industrial athlete is and how you're around that on a day-to-day basis, Vince.
Yeah, a lot of times, and I have a book coming out called Industrial Athletes. And what we talk about are two different things. One, it's from the management perspective and how you take care of your people. But then two, those people, the industrial athlete, they wear the jersey for the organization that they work with, right? But what are you doing to make sure that you're trained for the game? What are you doing to prepare for your day, right? It's not just show up, go through the theatrics of being an employee, and then getting home and a lot of people are drinking, a lot of people are eating poorly. They're not thinking about what do I need to do to prepare for the next day and prepare for the next month. And so that's a conversation that needs to be had.
What's going on with you? I think that's an easy segue into sleep habits. And you see the mattress commercials, and you see the take this supplement before you go to bed commercials, and you hear how people are supposedly succeeding in their sleep habits. Let's do a reset here for a minute for somebody like myself, who I like to kind of pick and choose this information and try to understand it. Help me reset. What do I need to be doing about my sleep habits as someone who's in this leadership role?
Yeah, that's so awesome. It's a great conversation that I love to have. I always start with this. The cowboys back in the early 40s, right? The guys that rode horses all day, hard work. They would literally sleep on a bedroll on the ground with their head on a rock. And guess what? They slept, and they slept well. Why? Because they were super fit. They ate well. They intermittently fasted, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. They lived a life of real, pure fitness in a sense. And I always say, if you can't sleep, you're probably not tired. That's the first step, right? Why aren't you tired? Because you sat on your ass all day long in front of a computer. What did you do physically to run your energy out? We can also talk about the Springer Spaniel that you bring home as a puppy. The thing you tell a person that just bought a Springer Spaniel is you better have a place for it to run. Otherwise, it's going to tear your curtains off the walls. Why? Because it's got tons of energy, just like we do. If you don't run yourself out of energy in the day, you're going to sleep like crap. So
Yeah.
get home and work out. Make sure that you're
Right.
eating properly so that you're not ending your day on sugar. Stop
Right.
eating 3 hours before you go to bed. There's lots of little simple tips that we can give a person to start to overcome poor sleep. It's not
Right.
medication. It's not a purple pillow. It's not any of this stuff. It's really, what are you doing on an energetic level during the day to make sure it's time for bed, it's time to sleep.
And I've heard something recently. A friend of mine was talking about how she was having a difficult time getting to sleep, and then I just through the conversation, found out that this is somebody that would stay up until midnight sometimes, or get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Her sleep patterns were all over, and
Yeah.
can you? Talk to us a little bit about having a consistency in sleep pattern.
It's all about a rhythm, right? They call it, actually, physiologically, it's your circadian rhythm. We're built to start going to sleep. Our serotonin levels start to kick up when the sun starts to go down, right? So our sleep patterns change with the seasons a lot of times, but it really has to do with the timing of the sun, and we're wired for that. What do we do though? We usually punch through. We
Mm-hmm.
The sun starts going down, it's 8 o'clock. What are we doing? We're watching TV. We have blue light that starts to enter our bodies, and that is the same thing as the sun. And so your system, your hippocampus, the parts of the brain that tell you it's time for sleep, it's all thrown off because we end our day with blue light. We get up in the morning, first thing we do, look at our phone.
Yeah.
Really, what we should be doing is we should have red light in the bedroom, no blue light before bed, 3 hours before, and allow that serotonin hormone to rise. Your growth hormone will rise, your insulin levels go down, and it's time for bed. You'll sleep well. We throw
Very.
that off by eating popcorn and watching a movie before we go to bed.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left here today, but I'm going to ask you to kind of summarize some things in a minute here, Vince. But for those kind of following on, or maybe you just tuned in a little late, we're talking about Great to Greatest Coaching. This focuses on mind, body, and soul. And why are we talking about that on kind of an insurance and financial related podcast? Because what we have found over the years, going back to beyond 2005, from personal experience, I was blessed to be able to write this workbook called Great to Greatest. Vince Catteruccia is one of our students and has excelled and exceeded way beyond, I think, both of our understandings or wildest dreams over the last several years. He's sharing some of what he does on a day-to-day basis. He's one of our partners in this Great to Greatest coaching adventure. So when you go to joesimon.solutions and then you go to our blogs, or you go to Great to Greatest on the menu in the upper right, you'll find some narrative on what Great to Greatest is. It's tucked in under our executive concierge services. You don't have to be an executive in a high rise. This is being built for, frankly, someone who's not a superstar athlete with multi-millions of dollars, someone who's not a S&P 500 CEO or CFO. This is built for somebody who's out there succeeding and striving and wanting to grow and learn within themselves and in their day to day on Main Street, USA. It's priced fairly, and it's got deep roots as far as where we go with this mind, body, and soul concentration in this executive training. So it's very interesting. And today we're again digging down deep on the body. How many times have you heard or thought, I'm really good at making this money and starting businesses and hiring employees, but your health is falling apart? I hope I got your attention, because you can make all the money in the world but not be able to do anything. And that's almost a personal prison as far as I'm concerned. And we talk about those kind of things in Great to Greatest. So, Vince, if you had 2 minutes to kind of summarize things, what would you say your role in the body part of Great to Greatest is for somebody sitting on the edge of their seat and going, okay, Vince, you got me. Tell me more.
It's all about that, right? It's about taking that single dimension thought process and looking at how do we grow that and start to focus on the other pillars. So you have the money pillar, you have the financial pillar, right? Can be good at that, but you can't get out of the chair. You can't walk upstairs. So we need to look at the other pillars so that once you reach that success, whatever that is, that definition, you have the ability to enjoy the fruits of the labor. You have the ability to enjoy life after you've met the success. Far too often I see people retire and they can't do anything with the money that they've made. They can't enjoy it because now what are they doing? Chasing doctor's appointments. Is that the life you want to live? Is that the future that you're actually working towards? Because I'll tell you what, the doctors will take your money all day long. They're proficient at it. It is a business. And the deeper your pockets, the better they are at picking them. So let's bulletproof you. Let's make sure that your future is super bright and super fit. What is the definition of wellness? I'll leave you with this one thing. What's the true definition of wellness? Having one foot in the doorway of the hospital and one foot outside of it. I would rather be fit. The definition of fitness in my mind, being a mile away from the front door of that hospital or further. The more fit you are, the further you are from the front door of the hospital. Think about that. You can be well. That's a trigger word now, wellness. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be well. You want to be fit financially, spiritually, and physically.
Excellent. Well, Vince, what a lot of great content today. We're looking forward to your new book coming out soon, The Industrial Athlete. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. We got to talk more about just that in itself. Thank you for joining us today, Vince.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap on today's show. We're always out to assist you in improving your bottom line. Go to joesimon.solutions for more. We think you'll find, like dozens of other leaders, that Great to Greatest Coaching is one that really gets you that additional oomph that you need in your life towards success. And as we always like to say, have a prosperous day.
You've been listening to the Joe Simon Podcast. Big ideas with powerful stories and real-time solutions. Business succession planning, executive benefits, employee benefits, tax beneficial savings, and more. Remember, information discussed here today is dated and not specific to your situation. Always seek personal counsel from qualified advisors. Joe Simon is a licensed insurance agent in the state of Wisconsin. Licensed to advise on accident and health, life insurance, disability insurance and annuities, as well as qualified long-term care insurance.